You ever wonder what it really takes to build a life that can stand up to, well, anything? A life that doesn't just fall apart when things get tough? It's something we all want, right? That feeling of stability, of meaning. Well, it turns out there's an ancient blueprint for exactly that. So let's dive in and take a look at it together. So, what is this blueprint? Where do we find the instructions for building a life on solid ground? I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? It's something we all ask in one way or another. For the answer, we're going to go right to the end of the most famous sermon ever given, the Sermon on the Mount. Right there in Matthew chapter 7, Jesus lays out the practical, life-changing way to apply everything he's just been teaching. This is really where the rubber meets the road. And the very first step in this blueprint is kind of surprising. It doesn't start with some big, flashy action. Nope, it starts with looking inward, specifically at how we judge and treat the people around us. To get this point across, Jesus uses this incredible word picture. Imagine trying to point out a tiny speck of sawdust in your friend's eye, while you've got a giant wooden plank sticking out of your own. It's ridiculous, right? He's basically saying, stop obsessing over other people's small flaws when you're ignoring your own massive issues. The message is crystal clear. Deal with your own stuff first. Only then can you actually be in a position to help anybody else. Okay, so if we're not supposed to be nitpicking everyone else, what's the alternative? It's this, the golden rule. And notice, it's a proactive command. It's not just don't hurt people. It's actively do for others the good things you want them to do for you. Jesus says this one simple idea sums up the whole point of the law and the prophets. It's the absolute cornerstone of a good life and a healthy community. So after talking about our relationships with each other, the blueprint totally shifts focus to our relationship with God. And the main idea here? It's all about God's fundamental nature, his generosity. Jesus breaks down how we should approach this generous God into 3 simple, persistent actions. And the first one is just ask. The second is to get active, to actually seek. And the third is to knock. Like you're determined to get an answer. Now, this isn't some magic formula, like you say the words and get a prize. In the original language, these words mean to keep on asking, keep on seeking, keep on knocking. It's an invitation to a real, ongoing relationship, and it's built on the promise that the one you're talking to actually wants to respond. And this just brilliantly illustrates why we can trust that promise. Jesus uses this powerful analogy. Think about it. If your kid asks for food, for something basic like bread, what kind of father would hand them a rock or a snake? His point is, if even flawed, imperfect human parents know how to give good gifts to their kids, how much more can we trust a perfect heavenly Father to give us what is truly good when we ask him? This all leads us to the next part of the blueprint, and it's all about making choices. Life is shown as a series of critical decisions that lead to very, very different places. Jesus basically lays out 2 options. There's a wide gate and a smooth, easy road that a lot of people are on. It's popular, but it leads to destruction. And then there's a narrow gate and a much harder path that leads to life. And the text says that not many people find it. The choice couldn't be more stark, and the stakes couldn't be higher. So, how can you tell who's on which path? How do you tell what's true and what isn't? Well, Jesus gives us another metaphor from nature. You know a tree by its fruit. A person's actions, their character, the real-world results of how they live, that's the fruit. A good, healthy person is going to produce good things. Just like a rotten tree can only produce rotten fruit. It's that simple. And all of these teachings, how we treat people, how we talk to God, the paths we choose to walk, it all comes together in one final, powerful story that ties the entire blueprint together. First, we meet the wise builder. So what makes this guy so wise? It's not just that he listened to Jesus' words. The secret is in that little word, and. He hears the words, and he actually puts them into practice. In this blueprint, wisdom isn't what you know. It's what you do with what you know. And this is the bottom line. Their result, the storms of life come, and notice, they're inevitable. The rain and floods hit everyone's house. They pound against that house, but it doesn't fall. Why? Because its foundation is the solid rock of obedience, of actually doing what Jesus taught. And then, by contrast, you've got the foolish builder. Now pay attention here. This guy isn't foolish because he didn't know any better.
He heard the exact same teaching. His failure wasn't a lack of information, it was a failure to act. The exact same storm hits this house, but the foundation is sand, a life built on just hearing words but never doing them. The result is just catastrophic. The house doesn't just get a little leaky, it completely collapses, and the fall of it was great. It's a stark warning that a faith that's all talk and no action offers zero protection when the storms of life hit.
And so, this ancient blueprint ends right there, with a question that echoes all the way down to us today. Just like that crowd, we too have now heard the words. We've seen the plans for a life built on rock versus a life built on sand. So the only question left really is, which builder are you going to be?